And people who are HIV positive can and do lead productive lives, at least those people who have access to medical care.
CBS 5 reporter Hank Plant covered the early years of the AIDS epidemic for this station. And Hank returns this week to tell us where treatment stands now for a disease that not long ago was considered a death sentence.
This is Ward 86 at San Francisco General Hospital, the first facility in the nation to treat HIV patients when the virus first became known back in the 1980s. In those days, this was a grim place to be. People were dying and nobody knew how to stop the disease. Today, Ward 86 is filled with hope for a better future. 30 years into the epidemic, people today are living such full, long lives with the disease that researchers here are looking at the effects of HIV and aging.
It doesn't look inflamed.
Dr. Brad Hare is medical director at Ward 86, which is known as the best AIDS clinic in the country.
What we've seen over the last 15 years is that, on average, our patients are getting older. The clinic now, with 3,000 patients, our average age of patients in the clinic is 47 years old. Back in the 1980s, most of our patients were in their 20s and 30s. I tell my patients when they come in, they have to plan for retirement. So the average life expectancy in the 1980s after diagnosis was 18 months. And now we're expecting people to live into their 60s, 70s, and hopefully beyond.
One of his patients is 57-year-old Lou Grasso.
I tested positive early 1986, and they told me at that time I had at most 3 years to live.
3 years to live?
Yeah.
And here we are in 2011.
2011.
In fact, most of his problems today have to do with aging, which seem to hit people with HIV earlier than others.
I have some cholesterol issues, heart issues.
But these are normal aging problems.
Yep.
And did you think that you would be sitting here in 2011?
And I thought I would be long gone.
Dr. Paul Volberding started Ward 86. He says in the 1980s, he knew that virtually every patient who came through the doors he would watch die. Today, he says most of his patients will outlive him.
HIV today, I wouldn't want it, but there are other diseases I'd feel more frightened about getting. It's a treatable chronic condition. The medicines aren't without side effects. They do have side effects, but at least in the 10 or so years that we've been using some of the ones that we use now, they're pretty safe.
Meanwhile, prevention research is now moving at a rapid pace. Inside this pill bottle is new hope of dramatically changing the course of the HIV epidemic. Researchers around the world, led by Dr. Robert Grant at UCSF, have discovered that drugs currently used to treat people with AIDS could also be taken by people who don't have the virus to prevent infection. The drugs come in a pill called Truvada, which is made by Bay Area-based Gilead Sciences.
It's like a vaccine in that it prevents the acquisition of HIV infection. This approach can be very useful for couples, but also very useful for young gay men who are just learning how to protect themselves in other ways. The pill itself adds a very high level of protection for those who take it consistently. And by high level, I mean 85 to 95%.
But taking the pill religiously every day appears to be key, something easier said than done. And critics say the method could lead to a false sense of protection and actually encourage more risky behavior. In the meantime, the FDA is now reviewing Truvada for use in prevention. But what if people with HIV could prevent advancing to full-blown AIDS without taking any medications at all? That's what UCSF's Dr. Jay Levy has been studying for decades. It's called natural immunity, and some long-term survivors definitely have it.
These individuals have the virus. No drugs are needed. They're perfectly healthy. They're working. You wouldn't know they have HIV. In a way, that's one of the reasons why it was such a surprise, because most people feel when you get a virus, you get a disease.
How many people have you found like that?
So we've had at least 60, 70 like that. We have 5 individuals who have been infected for more than 30 years and are perfectly healthy. And they carry the virus.
His goal now is to try to turn on that natural immunity in other people with HIV to prevent them from progressing to full-blown AIDS. It's one more weapon in a growing arsenal of research and treatment that grows stronger every day in the battle against this worldwide pandemic. In San Francisco, Hank Plant, CBS 5.
And we invite you to watch Hank Plant's series, AIDS at 30. It's a half-hour special we produced in cooperation with the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. It airs Saturday at 7 and again Sunday at 5 p.m. here on CBS 5.